Hi there, it's Tim. We're running about 3 minutes late because it turned out I accidentally unplugged my microphone. So the best laid plans of mice and men, I guess. I had to restart the broadcaster software a couple times, but we're back and running, and my meter is pegging here, so I think we're okay. This is a little video from a couple hours ago. Just I want to throw some of this in so everything's not so boring. I had to run to town to get some goat feed for a friend, and you can see it was pretty clear outside. So we're continuing to sit under this high pressure and a little high base cumulus there at about 4,000 or 5,000 feet, and yeah, I ran into Tractor Supply here and got some goat feed. I am running the feed at 24 frames per second. Yesterday we were doing 15, and the day before that we were doing 10. So I'm gradually bringing up the quality to see what the stream can handle. So hopefully it's starting to look a little bit better here. And that's pretty much all I got for the live video. It's very shaky, and again, I'm just kind of messing around and seeing what I can get with it. But in any case, this is the picture we have today, and it looks like yesterday and it looks like the day before. Well, actually, there's a little bit of change today. For one thing, the thing that looks the same, of course, is the monsoon. It's in about the very same place as yesterday. So the western edge is from around Ajo up to Laughlin and Las Vegas. The western edge is pretty much around the Sangre de Cristo region, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Now the new thing, I don't know if you've spotted that yet. See that line of thunderstorms there in the Central Plains? Why would you think that might be there? Do you remember the map that we had yesterday? We were looking at that wave coming across North Dakota, and the jet stream was looking kind of like that. Well, that has shifted eastward. So now we've got a pattern that's kind of like this. And behind that, we've got high pressure coming in from Canada. So, and you can pretty much see this in the moisture field. This is mostly what we're looking at is mid-level moisture. This is the water vapor imagery. When you're down to the south, you can see it looks very cellular, right? So it looks kind of patchy and cellular. But as you go north, it looks more laminar, a lot smoother. And that's a sign that our stronger winds are up north. And so we do expect to find the jet stream up north. So much of the weather is being controlled here by the jet stream patterns, and we've probably got that high pressure over Saskatchewan or Manitoba. And that's probably driven those storms to the south. There's probably a cold front sitting there kind of like that. So we'll watch for that on the charts. It looks like the best storms are right there near Iowa, so east of Des Moines out to, I guess, La Crosse. And let's check that out on the surface chart. Well, nothing going on here in Texas. Looks like we've cooled off just a tiny bit, only hundreds like that. But southeasterly flow across much of the state. But if we go up north towards where that warm front is, let's start with Dodge City on the tail end. Oops. I pulled up the sounding there. What I want to pick up is the Denver sector there. So there we go. We've got northerly flow across the Central Plains. And I don't know if you can pick out where the front is. Definitely right through there. And it gets a little more indeterminate as we get into Colorado because some of that is mixed up with outflow air from the thunderstorms that are out here. You can see thunderstorm symbols there, some rain there, thunderstorm there. So I might just want to kind of bring that there, something like that, and maybe assume some of this is outflow. But as you go north, low 70s, much cooler air. Then we pick up some mid-80s up in South Dakota. And then if we go a little bit further to the east, this is getting more towards the actual frontal low, and that's going to be probably up in Ontario. So leading edge of the cold front is going to run something like this. And we might expect to find a warm front out in this sector here. Let's see where that would be. Got 80 here around Kankakee or however that's pronounced, 80, 85, 73, it drops off. That could be from the lake, so we may be looking at that being a lot further north. So this is the kind of situation we got. So basically we have storms along the leading edge of that front. And nice, brisk, cool air behind that. We'll take a quick look at the sounding. We don't have any thunderstorm activity here in Texas. As I showed you on that footage of driving to town, it was pretty clear. So let me plug in the values. I'm going to modify this morning sounding. We'll go from a temperature of 36 to 37 along the dry Adiabat, and then we're going to mix the lowest 150 millibars. We should have some very nice deep mixing today. So I'm going to get something like that, and then our lifted parcel is going to be like that. So we still have a cap in place. See that cap right there? But above that we do have some positive energy. So if we were able to break that cap, we'd have some storms, certainly. The main problem, though, is dry air just off the surface. The dry air is, or the moisture is only about 100 millibars, or about 4,000 feet thick. And above that, as we mix deeper and deeper low-level parcels, we start entraining some of this dry air, mixing that down to the ground, and that lowers the dew point. That's the reason we see the dew points fall off during the day. In Texas this time of year, we start out maybe around 70 in the morning, and it falls off to 65, 64 during the day. That's because we're bringing that dry air down to the surface. All right, what else do we have going on? Yeah, let's check on that storm, Earl, I think it was. That was coming on shore into Belize yesterday, and it looks like now it's, I don't know the name of that town. I want to say Veracruz. I can't remember the town names around here, but it looks like it is heading into the Bay of Campeche. And we're going to look for probably some of that to lift northward. And when we're talking about bringing moisture north into Texas from tropical sources, we want to look at something called precipitable water. This is kind of like the sum total of the moisture we can squeeze out of the atmosphere from the surface up to the stratosphere. So let me get the set here. Okay, this is 18Z. This is earlier today. The purple is going to correspond to higher precipitable water. And you can see right here, I'm going to have to move that just a little bit here. There we go. Let me set that back. All right, so here's the Yucatan of Mexico. You can see all that moisture associated with Earl. And let's see what happens to that over the next week or so. So check out this area between here and Texas and see what happens. So I'm going to bring that forward. So you can see that blob of moisture kind of heads towards Veracruz onto the eastern Mexican coast. And it kind of piles up against the mountains there, against the Sierra Occidental, Oriental, whatever it's called. And it doesn't really get up into Texas until maybe Tuesday of next week. It's a very slow process. It does look like we get a chunk of that maybe around Thursday next week, Wednesday or Thursday. So we'll keep an eye on that. And running that back, you can also see the monsoon in progress across Arizona. What happens to that over the next week? Looks like that recedes a little bit. You can see it dries out. So probably we're going to see a slight drying trend out there. So that's something handy to look at this time of year, precipitable water. In this case, we're looking at the GFS panels for that. Storm Prediction Center does have a couple of watch boxes out for Wisconsin and eastern Iowa. And I did bring up the radar for Des Moines so we can look at these storms real quick. So here's Des Moines, there's Newton, and then we have Toledo off the edge. So these storms don't look particularly strong, just kind of a multi-cell line maybe. If we go aloft, that gives us additional information about the characters of these storms. So here we're up at about 16,000 feet. Now we're up at about, let's see, this is 27,000 feet. These storms aren't very tall at all. So where are those relative to the low-level parts of the storm? Looks like they're out ahead of it slightly. But we also have, you see this outflow? These storms are a little bit on the outflowish side, so I don't think we have a whole lot to worry about, and I'm not seeing much in the way of tight gradients out ahead of this line. If we look at the base velocity, you can see it's all outbound from the radar. The radar is located over here. It's all showing very strong outbound. Now what we want to look at is storm relative velocity, because all this does is really give us an idea of the ground level winds. So I've already set that up. Storm relative velocity looks like that. I put in a motion of, let's see, where was that? Yeah, there we go. Set storm motion vector. I set it at 310 out of 25, so that's where it is coming from. And even there it shows the velocities are pretty benign. I see a little bit of stronger outbound velocity right there. So that's probably a little bit of gusty outflow there just north of Newton. I'm going to set a mark over that, and we can compare that with a low-level flow. So there's an outflowish cell right there, and I'm not seeing much in the way of anything as far as any tornadic circulation. I always look at the spectrum width, and that's not really showing very much at all right now. One problem is we're kind of far from the radar site, maybe about 30 or 40 miles. And not only that, but the storms are fairly homogeneous. There's just not much detail on them right now. So there we go. There's the look at that storm in Iowa. Okay, anything else going on across the U.S.? Mostly just heat advisories there in Arkansas, probably due to high humidity and some of that heat. We've got flood warning or flood watches. Over the Four Corners area, the heat up north in the northwest has actually abated a little bit, so we just have, what is that, fire weather watches there for Snake River Valley up to Oregon. A few flood warnings there in the Carolinas, and here we can pick up those watch boxes there in Iowa and southern Wisconsin. And up here they've got a child abduction report, and on that I picked that up just to look at it, and they found the child there, so that's not really of any concern at this point. And I think we've pretty much gone through everything here. That's pretty much all I wanted to cover. I appreciate you watching, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow.